Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. BTM here, bringing you a one-on-one on Deccan, because as always, we only play on Deccan. I'm going to play Chinese per a user request, and my opponent will be British one-on-one. Now, I really don't know China all that well, unfortunately. I did have a pre-made rush deck for them that I'm using, but I couldn't find any good China-specific rush strategies. I just kind of know some general outlines. So this game we're going to play, or we're watching, I'm actually just making it up as I go along. I start off with a plethora of resources, it feels like, so I'm kind of like trying to figure out what I want to do. After all the food's gathered up, though, I do move most of my villagers off of the wood and the coin to food, because remember, my goal is to, as always with any rush game, is to age up as fast as possible. And I don't need 6 people gathering extra coin and wood, because that's not what I need. I need to get villagers out ASAP, so that's what's going on. One of the biggest thoughts in my head this game, or I guess the first one in my head, was the fact that I have villages, which mean that, unfortunately, it takes me 200 wood to build a house, but then that house supports more population. So a housing crisis with China is not easily fixable, so I definitely need to make sure I stay on top of my housing while I play China. Fortunately, though, villages also fatten livestock. So as you see there, I send my disciple all around the map, and my hope is to grab as much livestock as possible. I want to be able to fatten them up and eat them, because I basically have a free pen there. Fortunately, I do find on the map the treasure, which shows all the mines, so I'm going to use that to my advantage pretty soon, as I get it. And we're underway with the match. I keep making villagers per normal, and I'm just trying to figure out. I do not have in my head a specific number I wanted to age up with, so my plan was to age up with, keep making villagers continually. Will, shut up. Sorry, that was my roommate creaking his chair. Keep making villagers continually, and then when I hit 800 food and I'm still keeping up production, that's when I want to age. And I know that's not the fastest way to age, but I didn't know what better to do. Also in this match, I didn't use my consulate because I had no idea what I would use my consulate for specifically upgrade-wise. So I decided to keep it as simple as possible, unfortunately. But we'll definitely delve into more strategies in the later videos. I kind of rushed to record a match with China and get it out there. I'm still scouting out the map with my disciple, and I grab a trade post right off the bat. And the reason why I did that is because I do want my cards. I do love trade posts. If you've been watching me the last several videos, you know that I've really grown to love trading posts lately. I sent 300 food as my first shipment with China, and I've always been told you're supposed to, and the reason why is because China does not have any villager shipments they can send. Apparently you are supposed to send the 300 food as a substitute. It helps you age up very, very quickly, or so I've heard. So that's what's going on. Now, in terms of aging, we have so many options. We could build the porcelain tower, which gives us resources. We could build the summer palace, which gives us military units and 500 gold on aging. We could build what I'm building, which is called the Confucian Academy, if I'm correct, which gives us 4 choconos and allows us to make artillery automatically. So that's what I'm going to go for. I know that a lot of people age up with the Summer Palace, because you do get a hefty, if I might add, 500 food bonus when aging, and right away you get, and then you get free units from it. So I appreciate the usage of that. I also know that a lot of people who play China prefer to go with the porcelain tower, because it gives you resources right off the bat, which of course is a tremendous help. But because I was playing a British and I was expecting some kind of musketeer / longbowmen spam, that's what I decided to go with, the Confucian Academy, because I figured that heavy artillery would help me defeat them. Although I didn't do a necessarily great job keeping my artillery alive, as you'll soon see. You may notice, though, I did build a market right off the bat. That's one thing I was fairly impressed with when I was looking over China and just thinking about, because I play China a lot in Treaty, so I'm pretty familiar with them. So while I was thinking over China, I was kind of thinking, what do I need to do to maximize their economic potential? And I became fairly certain that I needed to get a market up and running as fast as possible. I accidentally clicked those I'm sorry. I accidentally shot that herd away from me, though, and that was not a good thing necessarily, and that's definitely a bummer. But we are doing a pretty good job so far here, grabbing the herds and scouting out the map. I look at his deck. He only has 6 musketeers, no hussar. He does have 700 gold and 700 wood, though, I noticed off the bat, and he does have upgrade cards. So I am aware pretty early on in the game that he is going to go musketeers and then try to send upgrades and make them pretty beastly. Fortunately, choconos are excellent at defeating musketeers. Aging up, I think I leave 1 villager building the wonder, and I did that because I do not know exactly how fast I don't know exactly how fast a wonder builds relative to the amount of people working on it, because I know there's definitely a proportion. I think like with no people building it, it's 90 seconds, 160 or 40. I'm not sure exactly. So I left 1 on it because I didn't want to have lose too much economic potential waiting for it to get built, but I definitely didn't want it to take forever to be built. So that's why I did that. I do send my disciple to go stick out his town, and I do notice off the bat, though, that he did age with the tower and the 200 gold option. In-game, I was pretty proud of myself for noticing. I'm like, aha! So he's definitely probably using that to get a first batch of musketeers or hussar out. I do send 8 Choco No, and then the army, I think it's called Ming Army, but I'm not sure, so you can let me know in the comments, or I'll let you know in the next video, which is 9 more Choco No plus a flamethrower, and I felt at this point that's going to be pretty beastly against him. I, of course, probably mistakenly was assuming he was going to go with mostly musketeers, but facing a Chinese player, that definitely isn't what you should do. I built a war academy now. I am aware that I'm getting close to my population limit. I've been trying to keep wood production and food production pretty consistent, and trying to be I've been trying to use my resources fairly quickly. You know what I mean? I get told a lot that you know, I shouldn't have a lot of excess resources just laying around, and it's very true. So we've been putting the gold back into market upgrades fairly well, been building, but unfortunately we're still a little bit tight on the wood. So my goal here is to kind of look around and see if I can catch them off balance, maybe kill any villagers for free. I mean, that's always a good thing. And I have sent my explorer to the top of the map because I want to grab a trade post on the other side. I did that kind of deliberately, though, ironically. My hope was to kind of make him guess which 2 trade posts I had. I didn't want to build them right next to each other. I know that kind of wastes some time and probably isn't the smartest choice, but I did that just because I could, which again, probably not the smartest choice, but I did. Now, one of the best benefits of China, I guess, is the fact that because we've been able to make villagers while aging, we're really pretty strong economically, I think, at this point. I mean, for being 6 minutes into the game, with 21 villagers and a trade post and a 20-man army, that's not too bad. I send the Quang Pikeman, though, as my next choice, which, again, probably not the greatest card choice ever, but like I said, I'm making up as I go along. And the reason why I did that is because I expected him to hussar rush. I figured that because he saw my, well, because I'm playing China, I figured he would expect me to amass Choco No's, and probably from looking at my deck he could assume I was going to, so that's kind of what I plan to do here. We get a little bit of a skirmish because I tried to raid him a little bit, and wow, look at that flamethrower, it absolutely gets killed. I don't know, they have such a short range, so I felt like it was the right thing to do to let it just attack things, but then it died really quickly, so I don't know if I used the flamethrower wrong or what I did that wasn't correct. We are able to absolutely just slaughter a bunch of his villagers and a bunch of his musketeers. However, I really don't want to match up my Choco No to his longbowmen. I'm not sure who would win that fight. I'm actually going to look at some numbers later before the next video and figure that out. Now, because he is going pretty heavily on the longbowmen, I'm not going to go with the old Han army. I'm going to go with the army that's horsemen and Choco No, which I didn't see it there. Dang it, I was hoping I'd be able to see it. I'm going to go with that army because Choco No will just be the generic range support. The horsemen will hopefully be able to kill him, but specifically not exactly sure what I'm doing necessarily at this point. So, or army-wise, just because, again, I'm not used to playing it. I also kind of half expect him to be making grenadiers, and I don't have an all-cavalry army, so just making tons of cavalry isn't necessarily always plausible as China. China generally has a problem with having isolated units, so that's kind of what's going on. Fortunately, though, I am getting 2 more banner armies coming out, and I do have that artillery from my wonder just made. If I look at my town, there it is. It's on its way to the battlefront, and we're still making villagers. So overall, I feel pretty good. Our scores are neck and neck, which is, to me, a great sign because he's British. So if I'm not losing badly to him, then I'm doing something all right. And I start to march into his town, and this was actually a little bit of an error on my part. I shouldn't have let them run in just because of those trees there. I shouldn't have let them close the distance actually in general, just because you're going to get shot up and lose a ton of hit points by the time they actually make it to the front. I probably should have just had the pikemen stay back to protect my Flying Crow, which is my artillery unit. Sorry about that. I do split up my Flying Crow, though. My goal was to... Or, I do split up my Quang Pikemen, by the way. My goal was to not let them die. Maybe I can get them on the other side of the map and hopefully kill some stuff, or at least provide a little bit of a scouting check. So, I keep pressuring him at this point because, like I said, I have or maybe I didn't say, but I do have the Flying Crow, and I felt really confident about, you know, having the Flying Crow and the Choco No. I felt like I really had this, despite the fact he has a pretty good-sized army opposing me. But man, he micromanages against my Flying Crow really quickly, and again, it dies, and I realized, well, crap, so I run away. I didn't quite know what to do, actually, at that point. I'm going to keep making banner armies, though. Fortunately, we have a strong enough economy to allow us to, but it's not good that every skirmish I've tried to put pressure on him with has involved me losing the battle so far. So definitely not necessarily in good shape militarily. However, fortunately, we are continuing to grab trading posts, and our economy is looking fairly good at this point. My next card, I do choose the banner armies train faster card because I am obviously getting into a longer match here, so I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose. What am I saying? I am getting into a longer match that's looking more and more like it's going to be about production, so that's going to be my goal. Now, I end up running those 2 horsemen into his town, and while he's looking at that, and I'm sure, like, thinking about that, I do manage to kill a bunch of villagers with my coin pikemen at the top of his town, where they're gathering from the berry bushes, which is just fantastic. Really, it was just absolutely great to be able to get that little kill there. Kind of equalized my economy a little bit. Now, he has noticed at this point and been shooting at me, but I kind of ignored that. I figured that it was just the villagers, but by the time I realized it wasn't, his entire army's over there killing me. Fortunately, we do have a pretty large mass of our own on the other side of his town. Now, I am going to have to march in at least a little bit to kind of bluff the threat. I don't really want to get on a fight with him, but I don't want him to think he can just I don't want him to think he's in the clear, that he can just march on. So I do, unfortunately, send my army to march in, but then I look away, and that's one of my biggest problems. Something as a player I've actually been working on a lot is I tend to send my military to do things, and then I get distracted by other things in the game, which, again, is not a good recipe. But at this point, he's got villagers attacking me, so I do decide to let my Choco No shoot those villagers, because I'm like, free villagers dead? I'm not going to complain. Unfortunately, his crossbowmen have a much longer range, and I'm guessing higher attack and health points than my Choco No. So at this point, I'm not necessarily doing great. However, I am about to grab the 5th and final trade post, and we do have a war academy now built on the middle of the plateau right near his town. So I feel like I'm in control, even though score-wise, he jumped to a pretty sizable lead, almost a 20% increase over mine, actually. And we do have a tremendous amount of gold right now, actually, which is more than we need, but considering we're going to use banner armies, it's not necessarily bad, I feel, to have a little bit heavier investment on gold, have a little bit of a gold stockpile. So I decided to fight here, which was not a good choice. He does vastly outnumber me, unfortunately, and I am not able to really get my horsemen involved well. I'm not really able to do a lot. He comes into my town, though, with a few musketeers, and looking at it, it was definitely a little bit more of an idle threat than a real one. And I lose one villager to the raid, but it's not the end of the world. And I think, if I notice there, looking back at this, he's got a villager wood chopping literally in my town. Yeah, so I have no idea why he has villagers wandering with his military the entire time. But score-wise, he's doing a lot better than I am, so who knows. I'm not worried about those little horde musketeers, though. Remember, our goal here, I guess, or my goal at this point in the game is realizing that I'm going to win this battle now through production. I didn't get the early rush just because I didn't really know what the early rush was. So now we have to transition into the mid-game, where I make more units than he does, and I simply just flat-out beat him through sheer numbers. And that's what we're going to do. So we do shift some of our trading posts to food as we do work to grab the last trading post. We sent 700 food. Again, it's almost just a temporary band-aid to kind of prevent our current loss of food from hurting us. So, fortunately, though, he does wander those archers into longbowmen into our base, and we are able to kill a lot of them with our horsemen here because they're right close by. They don't get shot as they're closing the distance. Unfortunately, I'm still going to lose at a war academy in the middle, which is a pretty big bummer. So I am going to have to get my villagers off the plateau, which I think I've already made sure I've done. And we're going to use our own town war academy to kind of keep up military production. I am also going to send the 7 steepy riders as my next choice. That way I can be sure to get out a strong cavalry presence against his archers, which longbowmen, I guess I should say, which are really starting to frustrate me at this point because I can't just isolate and make cavalry. I have a bunch of gold, a bunch of food. I can afford to make things. The banner army limitation is kind of pissing me off at this point in the game. And that's always been my one gripe with Giants. It's like, let me make units individually, but that's not the end of the world. So, unfortunately, though, he's kind of putting a little bit of pressure on one of my trading posts. I'm going to send just 3 Choco Nos up there. Not really to stop it or take it back, but just kind of to deter him. And I am building a second war academy in my town, as I am losing the war academy I had outside of my town. Fortunately, though, we do now have 11 steepy riders, which I felt like should be completely able to decimate an army of longbowmen. But we'll see what happens when I go and attack him. And we see him building there. I don't know if that's a manor house or a tower, but he's definitely kind of trying to take control of the plateau. Fortunately, I see him walk by, so I'm like, oh sweet, we're going to be able to attack him. And he manages to kill one in the first volley, and it really felt like they didn't do such a great job despite being cavalry. So I get that China is very much more the mass rather than the individual powerful unit, but that kind of frustrated me. And at this point, the game does not look good for me. He's still got a solid 20-point lead in the game, and again, when you're considering where our scores are at, that's almost a 20% larger amount, I guess, of economy that he has. So we're in a little bit of trouble. We are going to shift our remaining trading posts, go under a 3 gold split, that way we can keep making armies. And I do, again, despite being in trouble, I feel like I can still pump out units pretty convincingly. So that's kind of what I hope to do right now. I send the tower, though, just because I am running out of things to send. This game, we've been in the second age now for almost 15 minutes, which is a pretty long time. So it's not the, it's no longer the, I don't even remember what I was going to say. Oh, we've been in the second age for a pretty long time, so I'm running out of units, unfortunately, or things valuable to send. So, not the end of the world, because we do have a few infinite shipments, but at the same time, it's not necessarily the best situation to be in. You may notice we have spent our entire little nest egg of gold, but it looks like we're definitely getting a pretty decent push back on him, or at least we're keeping him from just walking into our town. So that's a good bonus. And fortunately, our water buffalo we collected from the map, or yaks, I guess, they're now fattened and ready to go. And we and again, despite being behind him in score at this point, I still felt pretty in charge. He does have grenadiers coming out now, which is actually doing a kind of a unintended good thing. The grenadiers have a little bit of a siege damage, so they're actually knocking down some of the trees there, you may have noticed, which are actually allowing my steepy riders to get into the fight a little bit easier than they would normally. So that's actually doing a pretty good advantage to me, because having the cavalry having to run around the trees and like maneuver to get into position is actually helping me out a pretty good amount. So not the end of the world by any stretch. I did, as I previously, I think, mentioned, I did put the castle on the plateau. That way I can kind of have a little bit of a foothold there and retake control. And he does have an artillery foundry built outside my town, but I have no doubts about my ability to kill it. My production levels at this point are very, very solid. Look at that. We're already up to 800 food. We have all the trade posts feeding us. And I feel like at this point we're really going to be able to just finish him off. I don't think he can make units as well as we can. Just look at how much his score fell attacking me there. Despite the fact my score's been low, my score's been fairly indicative of my economic strength, just because I've been throwing away my military pretty badly. So that's what's been going on there. I do see his villagers at the top of the map, and I'm going to go to kill them. I keep making villagers. We're up to 34 now. I keep making villagers. We are going to retake the center of the map. We are going to be able to pick off a bunch of villagers on those elephants. It's really strange to see those villagers way out there. It almost feels or appears to me like he puts all his villagers with his army while walking, or maybe he put manor houses in the area. I'm not quite sure, but it was very strange to me to see all those villagers at herds near me when there's definitely herds closer to him that he could have utilized. But no matter, that's just what I thought. I thought it was kind of weird. And we're able to pick off 8 or 9 villagers, which, even though he has manor houses, that's still a tremendous loss to lose that many villagers, especially in a war that, as I previously mentioned, is now shifting towards a production focus rather than just a a production focus rather than just a quick rush focus. I did accidentally ignore that flying crow in my base for a while, but we do get it going now, and I'm going to use it to bring down that building, and I'm going to use the military to kind of kill any military he has. So that's what's going to go on there. And we're just going to keep pumping out men. 22 villagers on food, 10 on gold, all the trading posts. Our economy is just absolutely massive at this point. And I'm going to send these Chocono. I'm going to split them and send them to go kill more villagers. My goal at this point really is just to slow down his production as much as possible. That's kind of what we're doing. I mean, because it's become a spam fest at this point, that's what I felt like I had to do in order to win the game. So we're able to kill even more villagers, and that's just excellent. And he says GG at this point, so I kind of expected him to resign, but he didn't yet. It is pretty bad for him. I don't know how many villagers I've killed, but I've definitely killed a pretty good amount, I'm not going to lie. It's kind of surprising how many villagers I've killed and the fact that he's seemingly not given up yet. I wanted to like stun them there, but I did not know that I couldn't stun normal people. I guess I can only stun treasure guardians, so that's what's going on. And I started to burn those houses, but then I realized that I shouldn't burn those houses because the British will just rebuild them and then get more villagers. So we're gonna let those houses stand, even though they do provide him with some intelligence about where my army is moving. I see some of his villagers on the plateau by the dead animals, and we're gonna shoot those, and we're gonna keep making more military and just kind of seal the deal at this point. Again, more villagers over there. We're going to send the Steepy Riders up to go kill him, and hopefully just finish him off and grab our trading post back again. So at this point, we're just wrapping up the game, and it was a pretty good game. He chooses to resign because the game is clearly out of his reach. So I accidentally exit abruptly out of the game here, by the way, so I'm sorry I made that mistake. I got a little bit distracted and flustered, so I shouldn't have. Thank you guys so much for watching. The next video, by the next video I should say, which will be on Wednesday, at least for Age of Empires, I'll definitely look up a proper China strategy and have it practiced and be ready to show you guys it. I didn't get a chance to get to that this weekend. I have 3 tests, a quiz, and an essay due this week. So beyond all the normal stuff I do, including Valentine's Day, which is coming up. So I've been kind of a little bit stressed out, so I did not get a proper strategy for this video. I just said, hey, somebody wants me to play China, I'll play China. I'm just going to do the best I can. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. Sorry if you were looking for a specific strategy. I did not necessarily bring it this game, which I don't want to give you guys subpar videos, but at the same time I don't want to not give you videos if I'm busy. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a win-lose situation, I guess. And I also wanted to say I'm sorry my micromanagement isn't good, and it's weird to apologize for this, but I get called out on this a lot. A lot of people say, man, you suck at micromanaging, and I know I do, and that's something I got to work on getting better. So again, as always, I say I'm not the best in the world at this. I'm just doing the best I can, and I do actually have some pretty good players I'm playing with who are kind of helping me out a little bit. So we're definitely going to keep looking to improve my quality of play and the quality of videos I bring you, because at the end of the day, I want you guys to have the best possible Age of Empires videos that you can possibly have. And so that's kind of my heart. So I want you guys to know, I know I make mistakes, but we're definitely working on improving that on my end. You know, we work on video quality, we work on sound quality, we work on HD quality. You know, I'm going to also work on my playing quality and my strategy quality. So I just wanted to shout that out. Thank you guys so much for commenting, liking, and subscribing. It means so much to me. Do more of the same, please. Good luck, guys. And until I see you all next time, happy hunting.